Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. It's gonna be May. It's been May for a while.
It's gonna be May. It's actually gonna be June. You're getting really close to June here.
Closing in on June. It's gonna be Memorial Day soon. Get those pools open. Get those lawns mowed. Get some sunscreen. Get some aloe vera. My wife and I both got sunburned today, out doing things, and my wife said, "Give me the aloe vera," and I said, "What aloe vera? We don't have any." So now we're just suffering.
Y'all really need to get that SPF. We have sunscreen in the house. We have sunscreen in the house. We just didn't. We're just not. I shouldn't speak for my wife. I'm not smart, so I didn't wear it. When I was a kid, and we had a pool, and my mom never, nobody told me really about SPF. Like, we had it sometimes in the house because I burned really easily as a kid, but for the most part, after that first burn, I would tan. So from that point on, my mom would be like, "Oh, you don't need sunscreen," and it was just a thing. And then when I was a teenager, you were actively laying out trying to get sun and not putting sunscreen on, which skin cancer, probably here I come. But now that I hit a certain age, I think it started when I was 26, 27, I really started taking skincare a little bit more seriously. And now I will not leave my house in the morning without sunscreen on my face. My arms, it'll depend what I'm wearing, but
you're fairly fair skinned.
Yes, sir.
As am I. Are you on that 50? Are you 50-in?
Normally, if I'm out in the pool or something like that, so I'll do SPF 100 if I'm outside, actively outside, pool, beach, doing yard work, and then on my arms and everything else, I'll do SPF 50. But on the day-to-day, I think I have a combo skin moisturizer / sunscreen that's SPF 30. CeraVe, baby.
Wait, what was the first number you said?
SPF
you said
100.
50 on your arms. 100?
Yeah.
The triple digits?
There's a nice Neutrogena, waterproof sunscreen for your face. It's great.
We literally have it, yeah. That's a my wife thing. When we were on our honeymoon, she was like, "Put this on," and I was like, "Neutrogena."
You don't want to mess around, especially with your face. Then you always want a little bit higher SPF on your face than anywhere else. Obviously, you should be SPFing everywhere, but your face, if you don't want to age aggressively, then you want to prevent those sun damage wrinkles and whatnot.
And Techtic's just sitting there silently with his Italian heritage.
No, I make him wear sunscreen.
Not the Neutrogena though. I just do the regular.
He does the spray can right in the face. He's just spray me right in the face. Yeah. So then I do that.
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to
you're
spray
inhaling
it on your hand and rub it in.
Yeah, you're inhaling whatever bad. Weren't all of them recalled
but now
for
my
a while
lungs
because there's
protected.
cancer benzene or something in them?
Probably. Do we know what you said the word SPF a lot to the point that I feel like you're going out of your way to say it? Do you know what SPF stands for? Because I don't. I'm not asking because I do.
Solar protection factor or something?
It's just...
Boy, that sure sounds right.
It stands for sun protection factor.
Okay. Well, listen, UV rays are bad. In the sense of our skin, they're not good. So wear sunscreen. And, not to sound like a mom, because this is the most mom thing. I think my mom said this about 100,000 times. Even if it's cloudy, you could still get sunburned. That's a fact.
Is true. In the dead of winter, you will catch me wearing SPF on my face.
Yeah, wear sunscreen. So we got the PSA for the episode out of the way. We have a lot more to talk about. We're gonna be talking about MoviePass, also known as the greatest summer of our lives. I don't remember what summer it was. It's 2017 or something. We're gonna be talking about that summer. We're gonna be talking about the new Assassin's Creed. We got a trailer for that earlier this week, and we're gonna be talking about Terminator coming at us in a new format. So all of those things happening. Little trailer movie show forward today. Not a lot of game content, but if you're a gamer, stick around. We're all gamers. We probably have like-minded opinions at the very least. So stick around. I want to start with MoviePass. MoviePass Movie Crash is the title of this thing that we got a trailer for. Now, I Googled this. This is already playing on HBO. If you have real HBO and have an actual TV, you can already watch this, which I did not really know. I think it's coming to HBO Max soon. When I Google, it says the initial release is March 9th, 2024, which again, I think that probably it's just coming to HBO Max soon. The trailer probably said, I just don't remember. But this is a long time coming, right? I think we all kind of knew in our heart of hearts. First of all, I think we all kind of knew when we started using MoviePass of this can't be financially viable. And better yet, when it went down, I'm sure we all thought to ourselves, maybe at the very least subconsciously, like, oh, they're going to make like a Fyre Fest style documentary about this someday, and it's going to be about how capitalism is really weird. And lo and behold, we got a trailer that it seems like I was interested in. I found it interesting what the trailer was focusing on. Like, I feel like the trailer was focusing on internal strife and like seemingly misuse of company funds, but it didn't cut to the core of what I want the documentary to be about, which is really like, how was this ever expected to make any money?
It makes it seem like that the only reason that it went under was because they were just misappropriation of funds.
It was mismanaged.
It had nothing to do with, hey, see 1 billion movies in a day and we'll be fine.
I was watching the trailer, and there's a guy in the trailer. There's a guy who's like,
"That was you."
I saw 428, and literally, he's like, "I saw 428 movies," and my wife from the kitchen shouted over, "That's you. You're in the documentary." I didn't see 428 movies. I saw a lot of movies. I can't even like. I was a grad student. I was summertime. I had a lot of free time on my hands, whether or not I should have. I allotted myself a lot of free time. And I used that free time to see any movie that moved. And again, it was incredible. And for those that don't know, like, I guess we should provide a little bit of exposition-y information here, especially because MoviePass is like ostensibly back in some form. Like, MoviePass, the gist of MoviePass was supposed to be that you would pay, when at its height, it was $10 a month. And you could see one movie a day, every day, any movie. I think any theater. I don't remember if there were theater restrictions. $10 a month. And the idea was, I think the idea for profitability was twofold. I think they thought that people wouldn't use it, that it would be like a gym membership, and that people wouldn't use it. I think the other idea was that they were going to use our marketing data and like sell the data about what we were watching to companies, and that would give it profitability. They were also, I think, taking a cut of movie theaters' concession sales because it was driving people to movie theaters. So like, there was a broad strokes economic theory behind this, but I mean, I'll just say right now, based on the people that I knew, and also just like, I don't know, people generally liking movies, the gym membership idea was just flat out wrong. Like, people were like, oh, it's $10 a month? Okay, I'm going to take these suckers for all they're worth. I think there was for some people, there was a vindictive, like, this is really dumb, and I'm going to see as many movies as I can before this thing goes under. At a certain point, it became a clock that was running.
I don't know if I agree. And I think now I'm very curious to watch this, because I initially thought the same thing, that it was just an unsustainable business model. But knowing what we know about how highly valued people's data is, there probably was a sustainable financial aspect to this entire project. Didn't we just see Reddit selling data and posts to help like AI and stuff like that? We just heard that news.
I don't want to know.
And there is like, everybody is selling our data. We are basically now supplying all of these websites and apps that we use with a product that they can sell. And so I think that at its heart, there was something there, more than what I thought back in the past. And I also think that more people, if it was longer lived, like the first few months, yeah, everybody was like, sure, let's take them for what it's worth. But I think as time went on, like, we all look back at it as like the best summer of our lives because we could just see all these movies. But at some point, that's not sustainable. Like, you have other stuff going on. You can't constantly be going to the movies. So at a certain point, you would see people kind of following the gym model where after the first 3 months or so, they kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. They don't utilize it as much. They probably in like the busy holiday times, depending on what you have going on, like it might be a peak for some people, but other people might not touch it at all. And if it turns out that in this documentary, it's just because, sorry for any old white men,
I'm going to be furious.
But if it comes out that it's just because these two older white dudes decided they were going to use this as their cash cow payday to party and screw everybody over, like, I'm going to be a little mad because MoviePass is great and they ruined it.
I would be furious if and you know, there's truth to what you said. Like, I think people think a lot of things about venture capitalists generally, and like, I understand why they feel that way, but like, there had to be some kind of sound economic theory for the venture capitalist, as you put it, the two old white men. There had to be some kind of foundational economic theory for them to buy in on and be like, yes, this can become profitable. Did it work out? Clearly not. But like you said, if the documentary is basically like, this was working, but they were spending the money in all the wrong ways, like, I'm going to be furious because, like, it was amazing. And also like it kind of brought the movie industry back from the brink for a while. Like people weren't going to theaters, and this like got people going to theaters again. I think that, I would probably see,
if you're one of the people that like did a lot of the legwork that wasn't like one of the two people blowing all the cash, and this movie brought that to light, would you spin off your own MoviePass thing and say F this?
Well, I mean, technically MoviePass is back. No.
Yeah, but doesn't it still have those
MoviePass is back.
jokers?
I don't think so. MoviePass got sold, right?
Yeah, it's not the same guys. It's a different set of guys. I'm like almost positive. It's worth noting too, like MoviePass, it did have a life like what basically happened is it was around for a little bit and it wasn't really being used much, and then they dropped the price from like $20. It wasn't that big of a drop, but it was like $20 to $10 or something. They hit some sort of critical mass price wise, and the word got out through some viral whatever, and like then it exploded. So you could probably make an argument that they weren't ready for the level of growth that they experienced. Maybe the documentary will get into that. I have no idea, but I do think, to touch back on one of your earlier points, Nerdbomber, like, yes, that's like, I imagine my use of MoviePass would have died down, but I guarantee you I would still be getting my money's worth out of it. If it was still $10, you need to see literally one movie, and if you see one movie in a month, you're not just breaking even, you're, as a consumer, profiting off of that. I would have been, there's no way I wouldn't make that happen. Like, I see movies less now because I don't have MoviePass, but if I have there was kind of a nice thing there of like, I have this thing, I'm going to see movies, and it's like kind of a guilt-free way to do so. And, worth noting, AMC, Regal, all the big chains, they have their own quote-unquote MoviePass now, and I think Regal's is like $24 a month or something. Like, it pays for itself in 2 visits. If you do 2 visits a month, it pays for itself. It's hard for me to characterize why that feels so different, but it really does.
It feels like, so when Netflix first came out, everyone was like, wow, Netflix is so great. And then it's like, oh, another streaming service. When like it takes away the like exciting new product, and that's why I think MoviePass was great. And then you had all these other people kind of following suit to like make sure you stay in their theater, and then it waters everything else down and doesn't make it as exciting. And it's just
well, yeah, and the theater exclusivity, that's the other thing too, is that I know when I had MoviePass, there in the town I was living in at the time, I think I went to 3 or 4 different movie theaters, and it didn't matter. Like, I could just, whichever one had the best showtime, I go to that one. There was a freedom there. Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree this documentary is like long overdue. I think we all knew it was coming, but like you said, if it turns out it's just like people mismanaged this and it really was poised to work, and then this happened, like that's going to be very frustrating for me. At the end of the day, it did change the landscape irrevocably. Like, these chains all have these subscription models now as a result of that. I don't know the extent to which people are using them, but if they still are around, then people probably are, right? So yeah, MoviePass, Movie Crash. I don't love the title. It's kind of weird, but
I feel like they were trying to like mimic. Do you remember We Crash, which was it wasn't a documentary.
WeWork.
Yeah, but it was like wasn't Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto in it, and it was like the downfall of WeWork. So I think maybe they were trying to like be playful and copy that.
I will be watching this whenever it comes out. I don't know.
This month. It was like end of May, I believe.
I'll be watching this, if only because it's going to be a nice way for me to reminisce about, as I said before, maybe the greatest summer of my life.
Yo, you know what we should do? And I'm sorry, viewers, that you won't be invited to this, but we should do like a projector movie night and reminisce about MoviePass and how great that summer was.
Right. Watch every movie we watch with MoviePass. It would probably take us a month.
Well, I meant like watch the documentary, but we could also watch every movie we ever watched.
That would also be good. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to watch the MoviePass documentary on a projector, no doubt. So yeah, it's coming. I think Nerdbomber said later this month, Wednesday, May 29th. So be on the lookout for that. Moving right along, let's transition to anime, which is a genre that I do not have a lot of experience in. You guys, I'm going to defer to you a little bit on this subject because you guys are anime viewers, at least to a greater extent than myself. Terminator Zero is an anime series coming to Netflix on August 29th of this year. It's an anime in the Terminator universe. So we're talking Skynet. and there's some backstory here. In Terminator 2 Judgment Day, it's revealed that August 29th, 1997 is the date that the the artificial intelligence network known as Skynet becomes self-aware and, does all the things that it does. So August 29th of this year, obviously that's a tongue-in-cheek, I guess you would say, reference to that.
Isn't that kind of wild, too, with all the AI that's been happening? I just think I'm scared.
Well, if anything, I mean, Terminator 2 said it was going to happen in 97. We've made it this far. We're outlasting what James Cameron thought we were capable of. So
not to
good for us, I guess.
But do you ever watch some of those older sci-fi movies and especially like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and basically we pass by all of the dates where they predict crazy stuff happening, and it's just like, oh, we're not.
Yeah, Back to the Future, I think was 20. I think when he went to the future and Back to the Future, it was like 2015, and he had like the self-lacing sneakers and the hoverboard and all that.
This is
to be fair, hoverboards were a thing.
This is sort of a
but not the way that he had.
This is sort of a side shoot, but that was back when technology was assumed to follow the standard exponential curve that it does inevitably follow. Whereas, again, this is an offshoot, capitalism encourages the drip feed so that you can have slight change model, slight change model, slight change model, and keep having these slow, continuous profits. So
yeah, well, and planned obsolescence is like a thing that Apple puts in place to be like, all right, we need to make sure this phone breaks for people and no more than 5 years because we want them to buy the new
technology could be so much better.
That's very true. So, okay, we're going to get 8 episodes of an anime titled Terminator Zero on August 29th. Do we know a whole lot else about what the story is going to be? Do you have thoughts? Techtic, you were the one who selected this topic, so I'm going to defer to you. What are your hopes and dreams for this? What is your Terminator exposure? Because I'm also going to go on record. I have not sat through one Terminator movie all the way, and it was Terminator Salvation, which was the one with Christian Bale. So I feel like it kind of doesn't count.
So my hopes and dreams are exactly what they are doing, at least what it appears they are doing. And that is they're using the Terminator story as a rough guideline and putting their own complete spin on it in a sort of Tokyo setting. And I think that's the right move. I think we don't want to just see a cartoonified version of the movies because we've seen the movies. We want to see its own new take on the Terminator while having this awesome animation style, hopefully some violent gore scenes and a good story. And we don't want having to follow the narrative of what already exists to stifle that. And so I'm very excited about this because they are staying true to that. They're going to do their own thing and make a completely new story just with the inspiration from the original story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read a little blurb here on Netflix's website about what this is going to be about. Okay, 2022, a future war has raged for decades between the few human survivors and an endless army of machines. 1997, the AI known as Skynet gained self-awareness and began its war against humanity. We know that. That's Terminator stuff, classic. Caught between the future and this past is a soldier sent back in time to change the fate of humanity. She arrives in 97 to protect a scientist named Malcom Lee who works to launch a new AI system designed to compete with Skynet's impending attack on humanity. As Malcom navigates the moral complexities of his creation, he's hunted by an unrelenting assassin from the future, which forever alters the fate of his 3 children. So, this is classic Terminator stuff, right? I think when people hear Terminator, they think okay, human versus robot, right? They're also really did Terminator pioneer the time travel, I'm coming back through time to save your life and or kill you? Because that again, the time travel stuff, with movies, it gets paradoxical sometimes, and it's I don't know if they were the first ones to do that, but the time travel element is classic Terminator, right? So like you said, they're kind of just putting a new story in that universe using animation.
I mean, time travel was happening well before Terminator. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life had time travel, right? I don't know that Terminator.
It's a Wonderful Life
pioneered it.
It's a Wonderful Life have time?
Yeah, he showed him an alternate timeline where he dies.
Well, he dies,
where
but
he was never born.
It's an alternate timeline, but he's not traveling through time. I mean, not to get semantical, but anyways, yeah. I mean, I would probably need to watch some Terminator movies. I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's the question. Do I need to watch Terminator movies to just sit down and watch this anime?
Absolutely
Potentially not. Again, I mean, I know the gist. Skynet bad. I feel like that's kind of all I need to know to watch this. So
wait, so you've never seen the Terminators?
I know I'll be back. I know, like, I've seen various scenes many times. In particular from the second one, I feel like I've seen a bunch of scenes. And I rode the ride at, like, Universal Studios Florida.
Oh, okay, that's basically the same thing then. All right.
So I know my point is I know the gist. I know what's going on. I just haven't sat down and watched any of them end to end, except for the Christian Bale one, which wasn't that good from what I remember. There's been like 7 or 8 movies at this point. I think they're going to make them until forever. So I'll have my chance, I'm sure. Maybe that'll be my next retro movie series that I watch. I just started watching a retro movie series, which I'll talk about by What Are You Up To Wednesday. So is it fair to say, again, you guys are more in the anime pipeline than myself. Is it fair to say you guys are going to be watching this?
No.
Okay. It's not fair to say that. Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot or pressure you. This is peak summertime.
That's only because I have a significant backlog. I may get to it, but I'm like super behind on Dragon Ball. And they're also running a new series, as we've talked about in previous episodes. And then on top of that, I'm trying to rewatch Naruto. It's just my backlog is insurmountable right now. And so it's not my priority.
I should also note, this is being created by Mattson Tomlin, serving as showrunner and writer for the series. Previously wrote Project Power, which I believe we all saw. It's Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. They take little pills that give them mutant powers. Remember that one? I think we all watched it. I at least watched it. So he's back with Netflix, and he is making this show. So again, that's August 29th, the somethingth anniversary of the fictional Skynet takedown. Yeah, I think you touched on something, Techtic, which is that there may be a point at which an AI network taking down humanity as a plot device, it might become a little bit too real. I don't know if we're there yet, but the last Mission Impossible movie was also about AI. And I was like, I don't need to be thinking about this in my fictional enjoyment time. That's just food for thought. Yeah, so we're going to take a break now before coming back to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Steven Keller. Steven joined us on the show just a couple of weeks ago. He got to participate in the game segment. He got to talk through some news with us. And he got that guest spot as one of the many benefits of subscribing to our Patreon at the night level subscribership, which is the highest of our 3 levels. He got that guest segment, which he gets every so often on the show. He, of course, also gets access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. He gets this shout out every episode, and he gets input into the weekly game segment, which Techtic is hosting this week, so stay tuned for that. There is also a Squire level of support. The Squire is the guy who hands the knight his stuff, like the jousting pole, which I don't know is it called a pole? What's the thing you joust with called? Can we get our research team on that?
Is it a lancet? No.
Yes, I think
it's a I think it actually is. I think you might be onto something there. I think I knew that at one point. And I dumped it out of my brain.
Or maybe it's a lance. I think a lancet is like a something to heal a wound. I'm not really sure. Continue.
But I think they named it a lancet because it used to be the jousty thing. Because think about a needle, just a very small version of that. Anyways, we'll figure this out offline. There's a Squire level of support on our Patreon, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment and the monthly vlog. And there is also a page level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. Secret segment for the month of May, we just recorded. We're kind of playing Survivor, which is one of my favorite shows. Yeah, Survivor is one of my favorite shows. We played a miniature version of it on the secret segment. You're going to want to subscribe and check that out. So head over to patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. Consider giving back to the show to get some of that sweet, sweet content and keep the microphones running. So again, that's patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. Thanks again to our good friend Steven. We will be back after these messages to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Welcome aboard Too Vague Airlines. We're cruising here at 40,000 feet. That might be too many feet, but what do I know? I'm not really an airplane. I'm a podcaster. Actually, I'm a co-podcaster. I'm the co-host of several episodes of the Too Vague podcast. If you haven't heard it, you're missing out. Check out the Too Vague podcast. Any place podcasts do whatever they do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. For your continued safety, Too Vague Airlines requires that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. But while you're seated, you can tune into the Too Vague podcast, TWOVAGUE, on your favorite podcast services and enjoy the flight.
All right, we are back to talk about the latest Assassin's Creed game. I don't know, what is this, the 15th Assassin's Creed game? There's been a lot. But I think you could argue that this is the one that people have been waiting for a long time because it makes a lot of sense. So I believe this was previously codenamed Assassin's Creed, codename Red, but it's now called Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's coming November 12th, 2024, and it's taking place in feudal Japan. So, as is the wont of many Assassin's Creed games, I think a fair number of them were just set in Italy, but they've since gone to Viking mode. They've gone to Egypt, I know. They went to London. They did pirates. They went to the American Revolution. That's just to name a few. I'm sure I'm missing some. And now they're doing feudal Japan, which is kind of a match made in heaven, right? This trailer was 3.5 minutes long. I love an Assassin's Creed trailer. I'll go on record saying that. I've probably said it on the show before. In particular, some of the earlier ones like Brotherhood and Revelations. I'm a huge fan of just the trailers because they're very cinematic. They tell kind of mini stories, usually showing one assassination. So I was all jazzed up and I was geared up to watch a super, super awesome Assassin's Creed trailer. And in a lot of ways, it was that, but it was too long and it told too many stories at once. You disagree? Mm-hmm. Okay, hit me with the counterpoint.
Well, one, it shows two different worlds colliding. So you need kind of both of the backstories, and you need to see how they're coming together. That I thought was good. Two, and why I thought this trailer was excellent, is it shows zero connection to any other Assassin's Creed, period. And I think that's always good.
she has the hidden blade. And she has the classic Assassin's Creed. Yes, 100%. The thing she uses at the end is the hidden blade.
No, because it was a handheld blade that she full palmed. It wasn't a wrist fling, and that is good.
Well, but
there was definitely
they were. It's a hidden blade, but they're showing the funky new. Remember the Assassin's Creed 2? They showed that there was a hidden blade that you could shoot somebody with. This is the same thing. They're just oh, look at this new way you can use the hidden blade, but it's still a hidden blade. It's the wristy doodad. It's still the thing.
But I think you're excited that there's not that weird the two plot line thing going on it. At least it doesn't seem there's always that modern day weird techno plot thing that's happening in a lot of Assassin's Creed games, and this one doesn't seem to have that.
No one has ever wanted that.
Where I think Assassin's Creed does really, really well is they just go, hey, these are assassins that had happened over history. No connection, because guess what? You don't need to have some fucking brotherhood to all be connected to every assassin ever, okay? There could just be assassins in history because there was just assassins in history. And that is where it thrives.
Yeah, I think Nerdbomber's kind of saying the same thing. The connective tissue of there's this brotherhood over history. There must be a name for them, but I can't think of what it is. They might just be called the Assassins. In the first, I've only played the first game and a good chunk of the second game, both of which were good experiences, but the slowest parts of the game, by far, are the parts where they pull you out of the Animus, and you're Desmond, I think was his name, the present day guy, and you're trying to learn stuff about the Brotherhood, and you're just no, I want to go back and be in Florence, doing stuff. You never want to be out of that world. So I agree with that. I think that setting wise, and again, I've only played the first two, as I just said, but if you told me name a good setting for Assassin's Creed, this is probably the first thing I would say. And like I said, I think this is the thing that people have been waiting for a long time. Ninjas and assassins kind of go hand in hand. I also think feudal Japan, generally speaking, is a really interesting time. I don't know if Shogun is about feudal Japan or if it's this is I think Meiji Restoration times, it looks because there's people with guns at various points. There's people coming over from Europe, which again I feel is a very interesting time. The movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, very good movie that kind of focuses on that same time period. I don't know, I guess, and Nerdbomber, did you play the Viking one? I feel like you played the Viking one.
I did play it Valhalla. It was actually really good as well. I mean, again, outside of being pulled to the modern day shenaniganery that was happening, I wanted none of that, and I just wanted to go back and be a Viking.
Oh, so there's in Valhalla they're still doing, because I thought they just stopped doing that.
I think they just recently stopped doing that. I want to say the one, there was an Assassin's Creed that just came out. Was it Mirage? I think maybe
Mirage, I think, was the most
when
recent,
they stopped or were like wrapping that whole thing up. Because I think they I don't know. I didn't understand why I needed that. And especially it felt like a big barrier to entry as a newcomer to the game because I didn't understand the rest of the backstory, because that like modern day snippet of story had started, I think, with whichever one was set in Rome, Odyssey, and went through the one that was in Egypt and then went through Valhalla. And I didn't obviously play the first 2 games in that like little arc. So I had no idea what was going on in the modern day, nor did I care. And that was annoying. But the Viking part of it was really good.
Yeah, I think Odyssey might have been Japan, but don't quote me on that. Again, I'm not an expert.
I thought
Odyssey was Greece.
Yeah, Odyssey was like Greece or Rome.
Greece.
Okay. Which one was Egypt? Was that Mirage?
No. Mirage was the one that just came out. I don't remember what the Egypt one was, but it was between Odyssey and Valhalla.
It doesn't super matter, but I just think that this one, it makes sense. Sorry, go on. With
Valhalla, because that was my only Assassin's Creed that I've played. Like, I didn't really feel like an assassin. I felt like a Viking who was running, like I always do in every single game, head first into any battle with my big axe, and I was just taking people down. And I wasn't really trying to be sneaky. I was definitely not being an assassin. This definitely seems back to like Mirage was the assassin profile of games. There's a couple things that didn't necessarily get talked about in this trailer, but I think there was a little bit more information that came out by Ubisoft after the trailer released. So obviously we see there's 2 different, characters that you can play as. One of the things I really like they're doing is, how in a lot of games when you have 2 protagonists, they like shoehorn, I'm thinking like Spider-Man, where they force you to play as Mary Jane. And this apparently you're going to be able to pick who you want to be for every mission. So essentially you'll either get to pick like that brute force actiony slasher style, kind of like in Valhalla, or you can just be more sneaky stereotypical assassin. And I think that's really good and important, because then if you came into the series and you played Valhalla like me and you just rushed in head first with your axe, you can play that way. Or if you're used to the more like stealthy, mysterious, assassin-y way of playing, you can do that too, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, my touch point with that sort of thing, which admittedly is quite different, is Dishonored, right? Dishonored is basically like, hey, you can do this whatever way you want. They kind of implicitly recommend doing the stealthy way, because I think if you don't do it the stealthy way, the game gets harder. But you can play just as like, hey, I'm out in the open, I'm just killing folks, and do your worst to try and stop me. I like to think that if I played Assassin's Creed Shadows, I would start off as the assassin lady. I would play a few missions. I would get frustrated at my own lack of stealth, and I would just start bruising. Because I've had experiences with Splinter Cell, Dishonored. Even I'm playing Deathloop now. It's another one of those things where it's like, man, I just don't have a stealthy bone in my body, and I so badly want to have one, but I don't. I did, like I said, I played Assassin's Creed 2, but like I think like back then, especially Assassin's Creed 1, it was like you kind of couldn't. From what I remember about Assassin's Creed 1, it was very linear. It wasn't like Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 opens the throttle up in various different ways. But Assassin's Creed 1 is basically like, you can't really do anything wrong. Like, your only motivation to like be stealthy and do things right is to like feel cooler. But if you like screw up and like kill someone in broad daylight, like kind of nothing bad happens to you from what I remember.
I mean, that's a lot of them. You can just kind of like jump back on like into the roof or something, and then it cools off, and then you go, okay.
Yeah. I was doing a lot of that in Assassin's Creed 2. I would like plan a whole thing, and then I would accidentally trip over something, and like everyone would see me, and I'd just like hop onto the roofs and just kind of run. I mean, maybe that's just the way you play the games. Assassin's Creed has never been a game series that, to me, has delivered on what the trailers promise. I mean, I liked 1 and I liked 2, but they just never got there for me, I think, because my expectations were too high.
I think that
maybe this is the same thing.
If you liked the open world style of games, because I know there's also a subsect of Assassin's Creed fans who liked the linear experience, but if you are an open world fan, I will say like the cinematic and just like immersive historical part of the game really did come to life in Valhalla for me. Like I thought it was great. And I think it checked all the boxes that I was looking for out of that game.
So wait, was Valhalla linear or open world?
Open world. I was saying like the people who liked linear games, they didn't love that because it broke away from that formula of game.
I think Mirage went
back, I think, to
it went linear. Yeah. It went linear, and I think it was the first one to do it in a while. Could be wrong about that, but I think they tend to be open world.
One of the other big changes, which makes me think this is going to be, I mean, I'm pretty sure this one's another like open world experience. And I know, Techtic, you played Odyssey, the Greek one. There's like a bird mechanic where like a bird is almost like acting like a drone for you, and they had it in Valhalla. I'm pretty sure I saw you playing that in Odyssey, and I guess they're getting rid of that, and now you basically have to like scope things out. There's no like eye in the sky, and you can like build a network of spies, which I think is cool. Yeah, I prefer that too, because like it always felt a little weird that you could like see through the eyes of this animal, and I didn't love that. It felt a little like too magic gimmicky. Like you didn't feel like an assassin, you felt like some weird like mage person. Didn't love that.
Sorry, I'm just looking out 12, 13. This is the 14th game, it looks like. The 14th Assassin's Creed game. There's so much going on. I
do wonder, like, did this need to be an Assassin's Creed game? I'm wondering, like, how much longer Ubisoft can, like, milk the franchise. And I understand that the franchise sells games, so they're never going to move away from it. But, like, it almost feels like at this point, especially if you don't have, like, the overarching storyline, I don't know why we're calling these Assassin's Creed games. Like, call this...
Yeah, I'm...
Ninja
almost positive you said when you were playing Valhalla, I think you gave that exact point of feedback, because you were basically like, this could just be a Viking game and it would be cool. Like, I don't know. I guess my counter question is, does it being an Assassin's Creed game take away from, like, could it be better if it was separated from the greater IP? It probably could, because you wouldn't have to play the present day sections, right? Like, I think that is one of the main draws of it being its own IP. But yeah, looking at it, it looks like Mirage is the only one to not have a present day character in it. So I assume that means there is no present day stuff, but every other game has a present day character. So I don't know. Again, I only played 1 and 2. I liked them, but I didn't really. I didn't like them enough to continue with them, and I'm not sure that Shadow is going to get me back in the game. But it does seem like a very, very sensible move for the franchise, and the trailer did have high production values, and it delivered a lot of the content I expect from Assassin's Creed trailers. It was just too long. I didn't need a 3.5 minute trailer for it. But yeah, as I said, November 12th, I believe, is when this comes out. So be on the lookout for that. If you are an Assassin's Creed fan, let us know. If you're an Assassin's Creed fan, let us know online on Twitter/X. What's the best Assassin's Creed game? I am curious, because like when there's 14, I'm sure everyone has their opinions. And do you like the open world? Do you like the linear? Let us know at Online Warriors 1 is our main show account. We also have at OW86, that's me, at OW Techtic, and at OW Nerdbomber. We're going to transition now into the What Are You Up To Wednesday part of the show. This is where we talk about what we've been up to since last Wednesday. I'm going to go first because my update's going to be really short. I did a bunch of yard work this weekend, and I had to assemble an outdoor sectional, which took an entire afternoon, which is not fun. It's just an explanation of how I spent my time. I have not played any more Deathloop. I think seasonal allergies are coming back. That's just a fun fact about my life. The one thing I did that I haven't already mentioned on the show is my wife is a fan of the Bad Boys franchise of movies, of which there are 3 and there's about to be a 4th. I sat down and watched the first one end to end for the first time, because I've seen bits and pieces of it. I think I've also seen bits and pieces of the second one, but this was the first time I sat down to watch it end to end. It came out in 95, and it feels like a movie that came out in 95. And I think there's a lot of good and bad things that come with that. I won't get into all of it, but it was also Michael Bay's first movie, so you can tell he's kind of figuring out the ropes. Will Smith was at his Will Smithiest, you could argue. It was kind of early in his movie career, but he was coming off of Fresh Prince. I don't have a lot of Martin Lawrence experience. He was pretty good. And Téa Leoni was in it, who I'm always a fan of. So you could do a lot worse. It's on Hulu for free. And I'm going to be watching the second and probably the third one. Really curious about the third one, because I believe that one came out like during the pandemic. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. It was a light week, and hopefully next week I will have done more fun things that I can regale you with. But in the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Nerdbomber to carry us along.
All right, so I don't know if Techtic, you have other stuff to share, but this is kind of like a joint venture. What are you up to? And I would like you to input your opinions here. So we watched 2.
Yeah, you guys are married.
Yeah, we watched 2 movies together this weekend, and one was a horrible experience, and the other one was a much better experience. So the first one, dream scenario with Nicolas Cage, and I know this is one that Illeagle you've been wanting us to watch for a while because Nicolas Cage.
And the Rotten Tomatoes score is in the 90s.
No, to be clear,
high.
and this is the hill I continually die on.
The audience score is low.
Yes, the critic score was high. The audience score was garbage, and it might have been like 60. So like not horrible. Someone fact check me on this, but the audience score
I'm
was
fact checking
much
you
lower.
right now.
And
yeah, critical 91, audience 68. So you're still in the minority not liking it, but 68 for audience is pretty low because audiences tend to be pretty forgiving.
Essentially, if you haven't, I think we talked about this trailer on the podcast when it first came out, but essentially Nicolas Cage plays a college professor who has like daughters, is a family man, all that kind of stuff, but his life is pretty nondescript. Like he wanted to do research at one point, but someone else kind of took his idea and ran with it, etc., etc. And he's just kind of like going through the motions in life. And then suddenly people start dreaming about him. He's popping up in everybody's dreams. People he knows, people he doesn't know, people on the internet, all around the world, they're dreaming of him. And he's showing up in these dreams and he's not really doing anything. He's just like showing up, not doing anything good, not doing anything bad, just there in people's dreams. So he becomes kind of like...
Let me pause. I'm planning on watching this movie.
I'm not going to give any spoilers.
If you're planning on going to spoiler town. Okay, just making sure.
I'm giving like a very like...
Trailer level,
yeah. And so he decides to then lean into this, do interviews, and becomes famous, and then things unfold from there, right? The premise seemed like it could be really interesting. In fact, the first, quarter of the movie, I was like, okay, like, it's starting off a little bit slow, but I can see how this could go somewhere really interesting. And then there's, like, a turning point in the movie. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is not picking up. In fact, it's actually getting aggressively weird. Like, not weird in a good way, not weird in an interesting way, just weird in an uncomfortable, aggressively mid way. And I don't know if I want to continue watching this. And it was at that point where, and I'm sure you'll get to that point in the movie, and it is a point that is drawn on for way too long. It's too long of a scene. It's a very uncomfortable scene. And at that point, I started like checking the time to see how much was left. And we watched the movie to the end. We saw it out, but I did not enjoy it. I understood the message they were trying to send about things like fame and cancel culture and all that kind of stuff. I got the message. In fact, I was a little beat over the head with the message. I understood what they were trying to tell me, but it was just vastly uncomfortable. I mean, I guess give Nicolas Cage props for his acting because he portrayed a really cringe man super well, but I did not enjoy it. And in fact, I think I sent a Snapchat because the movie poster is him basically like looking up at the sky, almost like he's having a deep thought. And I think I sent you a Snapchat of that with the thought bubble, like, how did I make the worst movie of 2023? Because it came out last year. Yeah, I thought it was very bad. Strange in the worst way.
Cringe Man was my nickname in high school, first of all. Second of all, yeah, I am going to watch this. I have heard, you are not the first person I've heard this from. Because I think people often associate Nicolas Cage with me because I watch a lot of Nicolas Cage movies. I like him a lot. So when they see a movie that they don't like or that they do like, they're like, hey, this movie, X and Y. So
I kind of want to tell you, like, don't waste your time because it's that bad.
It's an hour 42, so it's not that big of a time commitment. I'll be watching it at some point, but I don't know when. Well, tell me what the good movie was, I guess.
Techtic, would you like to talk about this good movie, Pinball?
Yes. The good movie was Pinball. There were some other words to it after the title, but
I think it was The Man Who Saved Pinball.
The Man Who Saved Pinball, and it was sort of a docu show, I guess, docu-movie-ish, but it was like all actors.
Pinball
and
The Man Who Saved the Game.
Yeah, it was going through the story of, fun fact, pinball used to be illegal because it was seen as gambling. So it was the story of kind of the guy that made it not illegal anymore and saved pinball as we know it today. And it was actually one of the better, like I thought it was even better than the BlackBerry documentary story thing.
Well, I think what made this better than things like the BlackBerry movie or the Beanie Bubble or Air, because there have been a lot of like, you know, looking back on trends in the 70s, 80s, etc. There have been like a lot of these documentary style movies or like documentary is not the right word because they're actors. I can't think of the word right now, but there have been a lot of those lately, even the Atari movie. And I think this felt
like almost like biopics.
Yes,
I guess
thank
would be the
you.
word.
Like corporate or item or game biopics. But this felt a little bit different in a way because he was not like a stakeholder in a pinball company or anything. He was just a dude who really liked pinball. And what was impressive, like he was a writer for GQ and was writing a book about pinball, but ultimately like his involvement in the case, I think it went up to the Supreme Court, the case that re-legalized pinball in New York City, like he had no financial stake in the game. He just was a lover of pinball, and that's what drove him and motivated him to, write a book and pursue a book and like talk to all of the different pinball manufacturers and move this case forward. And I think that was a little bit better for me in terms of watching a biopic, because a lot of the times when you're watching like the BlackBerry movie, like, okay, it's the rise and fall of a company, but like, I don't necessarily feel any sort of sympathy or empathy towards the people who are running the company. Like, I don't feel as much of a connection, whereas this guy was just more of like a normal guy who really liked pinball. And I get that. I get having something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, like, so this is something you should watch.
And he also, like, it was also the story too of, how he met his wife. And so it felt like there were rom-com elements in addition to like the historical elements. And obviously this is all like a true story, but it was a very like heartwarming, good, feel-good movie. And I learned a lot about pinball, which is cool.
So 2 things you haven't mentioned that I feel like should be mentioned. This has one of the hot guys from Challengers as the main guy.
Yes.
Which is like currently,
I think he's
currently trending.
He made this before he was trending.
Yeah.
So you can get in on the
Second
ground
of all, his mustache in this movie is insane.
Insanely good.
A little bit. It's wild. Even for the 70s, I feel like it might be going too far. So if you're into mustaches, and mustaches on that guy in particular, also probably worth looking this up. That brings us to Quiz Town, does it not? Unless
Yes,
you had
it
anything
does.
else, Techtic or Nerdbomber. Techtic, you are the quiz master today, the quiz maestro, the mayor of Quiz Town. I will provide an update on the records here. I am 7-4. I am top dog right now. Nerdbomber 7-5, and Techtic, you yourself are 5-9. Steven 1-1. Would not take the charity win that we offered him, so he is sitting at 500 right now. What this means is that Nerdbomber and I are playing for Top Diggity Dog today, I believe. Yes, we are. So, Techtic, without further ado, the floor is yours.
All right, so the trivia topic is Malcolm in the Middle. And honestly, I really wish the topic was Frankie Muniz, because by God, has he had an interesting career, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So the first question is, in what year did Malcolm in the Middle first air?
And I'll go first because I had the better record. Also, of course, for those that are listening for the first time, just a quick rules. They're all numerical questions. Every player gets a +1 or an answer of 1 once per game. What year did it first air? Is that the question?
Yes.
1995.
I'm going to use my +1 early, 1996.
All right, Nerdbomber takes this one.
There.
It was first aired January 9th, 2000. And can I just say something?
Oh, wow.
Young Frankie Muniz, when I first watched Malcolm in the Middle, he reminds me of you, by the way.
Of me?
Yes.
I could see that. I've never gotten it, but I could see that. Wow, that's late. That's much later than I thought, but fair enough. I'll take the L on that first question.
So in total, in this long-running series, how many episodes aired? I don't know if long-running, in this series, how many episodes aired?
I mean, I think we saw them get him all the way college. And it started when he was in like 5th or 6th grade, like the character. Something in it ran at least 7 years. Sorry, I'm talking you through my headspace, but this is what I'm doing. And seasons used to be longer. I think we used to get 22 episode seasons. So 22 times 7 is 154 episodes. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm going to +1. I'm going to use my +1 here and say 155.
Okay, so your math was near perfect. However, it ran for 6 years.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, so I misused my +1. Damn.
So you both busted, and there was a total of 151 episodes. So really, really close, you guys.
Oh, so we were super
wow.
close.
That's a bummer.
Oh, I hate it. For me especially, my +1 was wasted. That's devastating. Okay, fair enough.
All right. So overall, what is the audience score for this show on Rotten Tomatoes?
Love me a good audience score.
People love this show, and I'm not saying they're without cause. We're in the 90s, no doubt. No diz out. I'm gonna say 94. I know I'm not leaving you much room to work with, Nerdbomber, but if you want to use a +2, I wouldn't hold it against you.
I'll give an 80.
All right, so Nerdbomber takes this one as well. It was an 89%.
Oh, come on. It's Bryan Cranston. It's the Cran Man. All right.
I'm glad you mentioned
ropes.
the Cran Man.
Love
when
the
this
Cran
show
Man.
when this show first aired, how old was Bryan Cranston?
Love this question. I'm not answering first, but I love this question.
I feel like he was 35.
Older. Definitely older. 43.
Bryan Cranston was in fact in his 40s, and he was 44.
Ooh,
So,
you were
illegal
close.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, you have a chance to tie this up, and then we can go into tiebreaker territory. So, as I said, Frankie Muniz is absolutely interesting. He retired acting at 19 years old, and now he races professionally. But like on his if you look him up, he has actor, film producer, race car driver, musician, voice actor, drummer, screenwriter, television producer. This guy is just out here just playing life on easy mode. It's insane. So that said, what is his net worth?
Fun fact before I answer this, I saw him in concert with he was in a rock band. He was a drummer.
I forgot about that.
This was probably 8 or 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I saw him in concert. It was insane. And the band wasn't very good, and the whole point of the band was that he was the drummer. That was what I remember. It's not very much. What is his net worth? I'm gonna say $12.4 million.
That's not very much to you? That answer shocks me.
I feel like now you're just giving.
No.
Oh, I'm not giving anything away. My response is merely it's not very much, and then you throw it. Are you rich?
In actor terms, I don't think that's very much.
I feel like because he's not just an actor, he's got a lot of different investments and stuff like that. We're talking about his net worth. I'm trying not to shoot myself in the foot here though. 25 mil.
All right, so I don't need to have a new question made. It is $30 million is his net worth, and so Nerdbomber takes it home.
I'll take the L. Frankie Muniz, you're a mystery man. How can one be expected to know you?
I want to know what is the
Nerdbomber
fastest? What is the fastest miles per hour he's hit in a race? I know that's not a quiz question, but somebody look that up on the interwebs. One of you listeners, let me know.
I mean, forget even that. If you look into what the actors were making on Malcolm in the Middle, it's just insane. All of this.
It was a big show for a little bit there. So Nerdbomber at 8-5, I'm at 7-5. Techtic remains at 5-9. Steven remains at 1-1. And Nerdbomber will host the next episode's quiz. We'll be seeing y'all again real soon on this podcast, but if you're missing us that much, you can head over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast for more content there. Hit us up on Twitter at the handles mentioned previously in the episode. And spread the good word. I don't know. Go learn about Frankie Muniz. He sounds like a very interesting man.
His fastest speed in one of the Daytona races or practices or something was 182.2 miles per hour. So there you go.
Kid stuff for Frankie. I'm sure on the back roads, he's hitting higher than that. Good to know. In any case, not hopefully, you'll be hearing from us soon, and stay safe and keep on podcasting.